When you think about the great point guards and post players that our game, not just our league, but our game has seen, they are going to go down in history as the greatest.
Stephanie White stood on the Gainbridge Fieldhouse court in November 2024, back where she started nearly a decade earlier. Same building, same franchise, same hometown roots running deep through Indianapolis. But everything else? Completely different. In 2015, White inherited a championship-tested roster led by Tamika Catchings, one of the greatest players in WNBA history. They reached the finals in her first season. In 2024, she returned to coach Caitlin Clark, the most hyped rookie in league history, leading a team that hadn't won a playoff game in 8 years. One job was about maintaining excellence. The other is about building it from scratch while the entire basketball world watches every single move. Here's the thing nobody talks about when it comes to coaching a generational talent. It's about managing expectations that no human being can meet, organizational pressure that never lets up, and the reality that every decision you make will be examined under a microscope. Stephanie White signed up for all of that when she came back to Indiana. White is Indiana basketball royalty. She led Purdue to the 1999 NCAA championship and was part of the Fever's 2012 championship coaching staff.
And I'm excited about the opportunity to work with them. I'm excited about the opportunity that we have to build from those starting points and build out, and for the longevity that those two could have in Indiana, in Indianapolis, and hanging banners in this building. All of those things are so exciting. The future's really bright, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
When Lynn Dunn retired in 2015, White was promoted to head coach. That first season went well. The Fever finished 20-14 and reached the WNBA Finals, losing to Minnesota in 5 games. Her overall record was 37-31 with a 6-6 playoff mark before she left for Vanderbilt in 2016. The college stint didn't go well. Over 5 seasons at Vanderbilt, White finished 46-83, which made people question her coaching ability. But in 2023, the Connecticut Sun gave her another shot. She won Coach of the Year after a 27-13 season, then went 28-12 the next year. Her 55-25 record over 2 years proved she could coach at the highest level, particularly on defense. The Sun led the league in defensive rating both seasons. When the Sun and White parted ways after 2024, the Fever immediately hired her to replace Christy Sides. White wanted to come home. The Fever wanted someone who could develop Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston into champions.
News: Caitlin Clark. Following a July 15th injury to her right groin, Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark underwent further medical evaluations earlier this week. The team can confirm that no additional injuries or damage were discovered through the evaluations. Clark will continue working with the Fever medical team on her recovery and rehabilitation, with the priority on her long-term health and well-being. There is no timetable available for Clark's return, and no additional details will be provided at this time. Any further updates will be shared as they become available.
When White coached the Fever the first time, she was working with a team that already knew how to win. Tamika Catchings was in her 14th season. A 10-time All-Star and the 2011 MVP, she'd won the championship in 2012 and had been to the finals twice before. Brianne January was a seasoned veteran. White's job was to manage egos and squeeze one more championship run out of an aging roster. She nearly pulled it off, making it to Game 5 of the finals. Now, White is dealing with something completely different. Clark and Boston are both in the early stages of their careers. They're figuring out how to win against players who are bigger, stronger, and more experienced. The rest of the roster is young players trying to establish themselves and veterans looking for one more chance at a ring. It's not a team built on championship experience. It's a team trying to learn what championship basketball even looks like. The pressure is different too. In 2015, the Fever were expected to compete, but nobody thought they were favorites. This time, the expectations are enormous.
Caitlin Clark's team has made it known we are going to be holding her out until she is fully recovered. We are not going to be rushing her back at all. After taking Indiana Fever's advice, eventually Caitlin Clark needs to take matters into her own hands, make decisions for herself, and I believe that's what we are seeing with the team that she now has surrounding her.
Clark is the most popular player in women's basketball history. Every game is sold out. The media coverage is constant. The organization wants results now, not in 3 years. One reason the Fever brought White back is her defensive philosophy. The Sun led the WNBA in defensive rating in 2024 and ranked second in 2023. The Fever, meanwhile, ranked 11th out of 12 teams in defense under Christie Sides. If White can make an immediate impact, it's on that end of the floor. White's approach is built on toughness and physicality. She wants her teams to impose their will on opponents. That worked beautifully in Connecticut with players like Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner. The question is whether it works with a Fever roster built around Clark's offensive brilliance. According to people who've worked with White, she's honest and blunt with her players. She'll tell you exactly what needs to change. With young players like Clark and Boston, you need to balance criticism with encouragement. Push too hard and you risk breaking their confidence. Go too easy and they don't improve.
The people are speculating that Caitlin Clark injury could be much worse than expected. You know, these type of injuries and the way she's been getting these injuries is not normal to have these strains back to back to back like this. And I said this before, Caitlin Clark's mobility is off, bro. I believe she might have came back too fast from the first. We all know the first one went down around the 25th of May. Then she came back and got re-injured around the 4th of July to the 5th, somewhere up in there of July. And then that brings us until now.
White's high-energy approach can build strong relationships, but it can also create complications if things go wrong. If you want to understand the challenge White is facing, look at Cheryl Reeve and the Minnesota Lynx. Reeve took over in 2010 when they were coming off a 13-21 season. The Lynx won the draft lottery and selected Maya Moore with the first overall pick in 2011. That season, they finished 27-7 and won the championship. Reeve was named Coach of the Year in just her second season. But Moore wasn't the only piece. They also had Simone Augustus, the first overall pick in 2006, who was already a star. They had Lindsay Whalen at point guard and Rebecca Brunson up front. Reeve didn't just coach Moore, she coached a roster full of talented players who fit together perfectly. The Lynx won 4 championships between 2011 and 2017, and Reeve is now considered one of the greatest coaches in WNBA history with the most wins in league history. White is trying to do something similar in Indiana, except the pieces around Clark and Boston are still being figured out. Reeve had organizational stability, front office support, and a roster built to win immediately. White is working with more question marks and less margin for error. In the WNBA, if something isn't working, you have maybe half a season to fix it before the front office starts looking for someone else.
She has met with a different doctor. And she won't even give an update to the team. Not, oh yeah, you know, she's met with a different doctor and we're waiting on an update. She's waiting, or not even, well, that's basically it. They're waiting on, oh, she's gone to a different doctor and they've heard nothing.
Nothing illustrates the complexity of White's job better than what happened with DeWanna Bonner. The 2-time WNBA champion and 6-time All-Star played for White in Connecticut and followed her to Indiana in February 2025. It seemed like a perfect fit. Bonner knew White's system and had averaged 15 points per game in 2024. But things went wrong immediately. Bonner was benched after 3 games. In 9 appearances, she averaged 7.1 points on 34.5% shooting, the worst numbers of her 16-year career. By mid-June, she stepped away for personal reasons. Reports circulated that she wanted out, preferring Phoenix or Atlanta. On June 25th, the Fever waived her. The most likely explanation is that Bonner didn't fit. The Fever need players who can space the floor and convert the opportunities Clark creates. At this stage of her career, Bonner wasn't the athlete she used to be. White realized the fit wasn't right and moved on. When Bonner returned to Indianapolis with Phoenix, White handled it professionally, saying she was glad Bonner was happy. But the episode raised questions. If White got this decision wrong, what other decisions might she get wrong? Can she build the right roster around Clark? When you're coaching a high-profile team with championship expectations, every personnel decision becomes a referendum on whether you know what you're doing. The hardest part of White's job isn't the X's and O's. It's managing Caitlin Clark. Clark averaged over 19 points and 8 assists as a rookie while dealing with more defensive attention than any first-year player in WNBA history. She's already one of the faces of the sport, but she also turns the ball over too much, and her defense needs work. White's job is to help Clark improve in those areas while still allowing her to be the creative, aggressive player that makes her special. White has talked about her offensive philosophy emphasizing pace, instinctive play, and maximizing player strengths. In practice, that means trusting Clark to make plays while holding her accountable when those plays don't work. It means designing an offense that showcases her talents without making everyone else stand around and watch. It means keeping her engaged on defense, even though that's not what made her famous. On top of all that, White has to manage the spotlight. Every time Clark has a bad game, people will blame the coach. Every decision White makes will be analyzed by thousands of fans and media members who think they know better. That's what comes with coaching the most popular player in the league. The returns on White's first season back in Indiana tell a complicated story. The Fever finished 24-20 and made the playoffs for the second straight year. They won the Commissioner's Cup and beat Atlanta in the first round before losing to Las Vegas in the semifinals. Those are respectable results, especially considering Clark missed more than half the season with multiple injuries, and the roster dealt with constant lineup changes. But the question is whether that's enough progress given the expectations. The front office and fans want championships, not first-round playoff wins. The Fever have everything in place to become a dynasty. They have 2 #1 overall picks in Boston and Clark. They have a passionate fan base and organizational resources most WNBA teams don't. What they need is time to let these young players develop, make mistakes, and learn how to win together. But the pressure for immediate results is enormous. The league has never seen this level of attention on a single team. Sponsors want wins. Fans expect championships. The front office knows they have a limited window to capitalize on Clark's popularity. White is stuck in the middle. She has to coach for the future while delivering results in the present. She has to develop young players while winning games against veteran-laden teams. She has to install a defensive system while keeping the offense flowing through Clark. The Bonner situation suggests White is willing to make tough decisions quickly. That's both good and bad. It shows she won't let sentiment get in the way of building the right roster. But it creates uncertainty. Players need to know their coach has their back, especially when things aren't going well. If players think they might be gone after a few bad games, it's harder to build trust and cohesion. Stephanie White's job coaching the Indiana Fever might be the hardest coaching job in professional basketball right now. She's trying to build a championship contender around a generational talent while managing organizational pressure, media scrutiny, and expectations that no team could realistically meet in one season. The comparison to what Cheryl Reeve did in Minnesota is tempting, but Reeve had better pieces around Maya Moore and more organizational stability. White has the resume. She's proven she can coach defense, develop players, and win at the highest level. But success with the Fever will require more than coaching skill. It will require patience from ownership, growth from young players, and the ability to make difficult decisions without second-guessing herself. Whether she can pull it all together remains to be seen. What do you think? Is Stephanie White the right coach for this job? Or did the Fever need someone with more experience managing young superstars? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the stories behind women's basketball, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started.